Hey neighbors, it's Sharon from Grace's Neighbor Sharon. This video is part of the 5 under $5 playlist for the month of February. Our host is Emily from Farm Charm Chic, and she's named the theme for this playlist Spring Inspired DIYs. So I thought I'd have a little fun with that. I've been wanting to do some welcome signs. So what I did for this video was 5 spring-inspired welcome signs. I hope you'll enjoy what I put together, and I'll give you a little bit more info about it later on in the video. So I'm just going to call this project number 1 because every project in this video is a spring-inspired welcome sign. Here's some of the supplies I'm thinking of using: that pretty floral ribbon from Temu, these eucalyptus sticks, some little tiny flowers. Those all came from Temu. I have the Chocateur stencil that I got in a group of stencils from eBay. And then I just have a container with a bunch of cut apart spatulas, or whatever you call those. I call them spatulas. And then some single-use packets. I get the single-use packets because I'm in the monthly thing with Chocateur, where you get a package monthly. It's not just a stencil. They give you, they might give you a surface, or they might give you 2 or 3 packets. It just all depends. So these shape signs come from Dollar Tree, of course, and they're normally done vertically, like especially at fall and stuff, but this one is done horizontally across, which is a little bit different. And when I was planning this video, I knew that I wanted to use the sign. I've been looking at it for a while. I wanted to use the front, but I just couldn't get rid of the paper and the printing and everything, so I cleaned up the back as best I could, and I'm using my DIY chalk paint that I purchased from Sammy at Unicorn Dust Designs. They have the welcome word sort of in 2 different pieces, and I guess they do that because they can fit it in a smaller package. So I had to cut it apart, and the crappy thing about it is the way they partitioned it off meant that that background was bigger on the ME part there than the first part. So you really had to work at getting it even. And you know, I'm always challenged with that, but I did my best. I used this Current Jam color. It's just this really pretty sort of burgundy pink color that I thought was perfect. One, because when I think of spring, I think of colors, and also the bow I'm going to make has this nice color in it as well, so I knew it was going to match. And you just pay attention to how I get that chalk paste on there. You don't want to glop it on, but you don't want to do it too thin and scrape it off either. You want to just like nice even pressure, and make sure there's not any uneven spots where, you know, there's like a wave, sort of like being able to see a paintbrush stroke in the paint. You want to just use even pressure, and then you'll be fine. I used the floral on either side of the welcome sign. This is an older stencil, and you'll notice because the green is really dark, and the newer stencils have a lighter green. But I'm not even really sure how Chocateur meant for this to be used. This is just how I decided to use it. I'm going to dry the paste with the heat gun, or the hot air gun, however you want to call it. And I already sprayed the background, but I should go back and spray the chalk paste too, because it really does need to be set. I have some just regular twine there, and I'm going to make the awareness shape, cinch it in the middle, and then wrap the twine around it, and wrap it nice and tight because the ribbon does not have wire in it. So you want it tight in the middle so you can poof out the bow. I'm just going to put it on there with some hot glue. And then I knew it was probably going to look a little too sparse. So what I did is, well, first I I sort of popped the tail up and I cut it on an angle rather than a dovetail because I wanted it above the letters. Then I put in those eucalyptus sticks that I showed you in the beginning. Since I didn't put everything together and then put it down, I put the bow down first and then I just lifted part of the bow and glued the eucalyptus stick underneath the bow. Then I have those tiny little flowers that came from Temu, and I thought they would look kind of like the stalk what had blooms on it, like in spring. So I did a few of those, and then I had some leftover lamb's ear, just to sort of make it not quite as sparse. And I just hot glued that underneath the bow and on top of the eucalyptus. I love how this one turned out. I popped a hanging string on there. There were already holes from the original hanging string. And you'll see how I tried to get the words off and were completely unsuccessful. So better look at this one during the final reveal. Okay, project number 2. I'm going to use a Chuckature stencil again, but this time on a piece of leftover 2x4 that I painted at one point and was going to use in a different project, and it didn't materialize, so it's been sitting around. I actually used it to drill things on the bottom part. There's a bunch of drill marks, so I stuck with just using this part of it, so cleaned it up again as best I could. And this is, I went through my, I have like this huge envelope, like as big as half of me. And this was a welcome-ish stencil. And I'm just, I mean, I know it's supposed to be funny, but it's just not my kind of funny. So, and I've seen other people use this and not use the ISH. So I just cut it off. I doubt I'm ever going to want to use it. So I don't even know what I did with it. However, I can't find my painter's tape right now. I actually had a 2-month block of time where I didn't make any videos. So it's just been misplaced and I can't find it. So I actually used a little bit of the leftover stencil. And I do that to make sure there's space to pull the paste onto the stencil, because, you know, sometimes it goes off the edge. The paste I chose for this one is some kind of frost. I want to say like snow frost. And you'll notice I always cut it where the words are, not where the color is. And that's just makes it easier to see what you've got there if you're going to save the packet. You also will notice that I knead the packet before I open it. It's just to make sure it's not clumpy. It's actually going on pretty good. I thought with it being a little bit thicker, I might have trouble with it, but I didn't. And it came on really nice, and there's a little close-up so you can see. It really looks white, but it's actually got a frostiness to it. And I was worried that that might seem winterish, so I wanted to go ahead and make sure I had some pretty flowers to decorate this. And I just did this all at once and then pulled it up. Sometimes you want to do a little and pull it and a little more and pull it, but this one I was happy that it wasn't going to take me too long to do the whole thing. The letter E is on top of a knot in the wood. I didn't even realize that, so I just go in with the end of a paintbrush to try and make it more visible. Then I picked out 2 of those eye hooks. I'm just going to measure in from the edges. I think I chose either 1/2 inch or 1 inch. I could not find the smallest drill bit I have for my drill, so I just used a hammer to get it started and then just turned it in like with a lot of force, with a lot of elbow grease. These flowers are really nice. They sort of drape, like I had them in a vase and they were just sort of draping, and it was really pretty, so I thought I could drape it on the sign. just attach it on the top. So I use a staple because you're not going to be looking at or even seeing the top. I don't know about you, but I hang most of my stuff around eye level, so you're not going to see all the stuff on the top. Instead of doing a bow on this one, after I got those two stalks, draping stalks down, I just clumped up some bigger purple flower and I put those in the middle. I found some purple baker's twine, if you can believe it. I mean, that was just luck. You know, I have yellow and black, but I didn't even realize I had purple. I'm going to double it up because the 2x4 is a little heavy. And I didn't like the thought of just a single strand of baker's twine, so I doubled it up. You want to tie this nice and tight, and don't worry about where you're tying it, because with the eye hooks, you can slide it. So after I'm done, I'm just going to slide the knot through to the bottom, and it looks like that. Hey neighbors, it's Sharon again from Grace's Neighbor Sharon. Here's the graphic again for the playlist. Emily from Farm Charm Chic is always our host. Sometimes we have a guest host, not this month. This playlist has been around forever. It's 5 under $5. Basically, you use your stash and come up with 5 projects that cost $5 or less to create. I always create from my stash, so technically everything I create is less than $5. But I also have a little bit of fun with it and try and use surfaces and supplies that are less expensive. And so I hope you're enjoying the video so far. Just have fun, and I'll be back with another video soon, and it won't be 2 months before I do that. Thanks for being around, guys. Love you. Okay, project number 3, another spring-inspired welcome sign. I have these lovely butterflies that I got off Timo, some leftover lamb's ear, leftover rope. I was thinking about using these ribbons, but I don't. Here's the stencil from Chuckature, and I'm actually going to use their surface on this one as well. And I didn't even realize the ribbon came with it. And I'm not even sure if I used the ribbon like they meant for it. Like they post videos showing how to use what they sent you. But I just, did what came to mind. And I don't often use everything together. That's why it's kind of funny. There's my single-use packets. And I believe I just stayed with black. This, the nice thing about using the Chuckature surface with a Chuckature surface with a Chuckature stencil is that everything fits. So I don't have to keep pulling out my ruler and measuring, figuring out how to hang it and all that. So the original sign says, "Welcome to our beautiful chaos." And then it gives you other options if you want to say something different, like "Welcome to the porch" and little things like that. But actually, I really like "To our beautiful chaos." I think it's really very fitting. So I just chose to keep it all together. So this one is good and easy. And again, I have all of these stencils already, so they're really no cost to me. But even if I did figure out how much they were, it's just maybe a couple dollars. And then on the new ones, I just have them. Like I just have so many. So I always create from my stash, and when I do this 5 under 5, I just consider it all this part of my stash because it's just sitting around, and I didn't buy it specifically for this. It just happens to be in my stash. But if you can't afford getting the Chuckature stencils, or you don't have Chuckature stencils in your stash, then by all means just go to Walmart and get like a paint stencil. You can thicken up your paint with some baking soda and use a sponge, and you'll be able to use the paint stencil and have less bleed through if you do that. For this video, I'm using all the stencils because I have them, and I haven't been using them. And I know some people say they're too expensive, so you know, just think about looking on eBay or Facebook maybe, and you'll get them for like pennies a stencil. Like, it's amazing how many you can get. Some people just, you know, go overboard on them and then they lose interest or whatever, and they're just selling like groups of 10, groups of 20. So you see how I did all that? It came out beautifully. Perfect. The surface is nice and slick and the paste just glides on. This is the ribbon they gave me, and I'm just going to do what I always do. I did the awareness shape, scrunched it in the middle, cinched it nice and tight, because this one also doesn't have a rib in it, so I need it tight in the middle so I can poof it up. I do have room to keep the legs of the bow there, so I do a dovetail on each side, poof up my bow, and look how pretty. I decided to just leave it with the bow, no flowers on this one, because I'm using my butterfly stickers. I get stickers and then I hardly ever use them in my crafting, because sometimes I just feel like it looks like a craft with a sticker on it. But I think it was super appropriate for this project, and I love how it turned out. I just took some leftover string and tied a knot, and then I'll hot glue it where the knot is. And then I like to put something on top. I used a ribbon scrap this time around. It hangs beautifully, and I will give you a better look at this during the final reveal. Okay, project number 4 is simple and easy. I'm using a cabinet front for the surface. I get those at Habitat for Humanity. I just go in there every once in a while, and if they have some of these cabinet fronts, I'll grab them. They have some that are a lot longer, some that are shorter, some are different colors. But this white one is a nice surface to work on. And after some figuring, I decided that this was a good shape and size and length and everything for this cabinet front. I don't get to do the little curly cues on it, that's the only thing, but you know, I'm okay with that. I like this cursive font, so I just made sure they were equally cut off on either side. I have those flower stencils that I cut off a previous stencil on a previous welcome sign. And you'll see that that was trimmed already, and it just kind of closes itself when the paste on the edge dries off. So I just cut that off, and it's liquidy enough that I can just put it on my spatula and spread it on in like 2 seconds. Like, look at how quick that was. That's using a smooth, silky surface like this is just so much easier. I think it looks great. I think you can't tell that it's missing the little ends on them, the little curly cues. I decided I wanted something in the corners. That's what that little floral stencil is for. And I was only going to do, you know, top left, bottom right, or whatever. But then after I did it, I felt like I was missing something. So what did I do? Well, I pulled out my Temu butterfly stickers. Put one in each corner, and I don't know if you can tell, but the little butterflies have one side that's the wing is made of flowers, and then the other side looks like a regular butterfly wing, and I thought that was just so pretty. I did forget to show putting the hanging rope on it, but I just stapled it on the back. I'm just fixing the bleed through here, and you'll get a good look at this during the final reveal. Okay, 5th and final project is probably the least expensive one of this whole video. It's made with a placemat as the surface. I have this leftover wood frame. I pulled a canvas off that, and I think I used it for something else, but at some point I also took the something else off, so the frame is just like that. And I thought, well, I can use it to make design look a little bit more upscale. So we're using a placemat and reusing a frame. Just cutting the placemat to size. It's super easy to cut. Just use your regular scissors, cut it to size. Make sure you get a little overhang because you want to be able, I'm going to staple it. You want there to be enough room that you can staple it without it overhanging. So, just be careful. If you want to mark it, you can do that. That might be easier. So this is going to combine two different stencils. And again, that's part of what I wanted to show you in this video. How can you can just put things together that you have in your stash. And that's what makes it so inexpensive. So I chose this really beautiful blue. I want to say it's like sapphire blue or something. And our home and the welcome is from one stencil. And it was one of the bigger stencils that I used earlier in this video. This time it had so many different options on it. So this is another welcome that was on the same stencil as previous one, and I believe I used the cursive one on the previous one. This one I'm just using the simple text like this, and it's perfect. Using the same blue as I did before, and this placemat, I mean, what a great surface for chalking. It just slid right on there, so easy, and the removal was easy. Now I do fuzz these stencils. I don't show it because I just fuzz it on my shirt. So just kind of like stick it on my belly or my chest or my shoulder or, my jeans. I mean, whatever. Just get some fuzz on it. And again, people don't like using chalk stencils sometimes because they think it's too expensive. But you don't have to have a fuzzing mat. You don't have to have a perfectly shaped spatula. I cut spatulas in half and use them like that, and here I am using a placemat for surface instead of a fancy chalk couture surface. So you can use chalk couture, but you can also use other chalking companies, and I know Amazon has some too. I think with a lot of the other ones, like other than chalk couture, they don't last as long, or the stencil is, a little flimsy or whatever. I noticed I got one from Temu one time, and after I used it twice and washed it, it just wasn't in good enough shape to use again. So I only got 2 uses out of it. Chalk couture says their stencils should last 10 uses. I'm probably not going to use any of my stencils 10 times. I'll probably use them 2 or 3 times. So, just a nice bit of knowledge to have there. And again, this is a stencil from this is part of a different stencil than the words. And I just cut the image out from the other words. It was, I can't remember. Something about home. And since this had home on it already, I just thought the two would go good together. I accidentally deleted the part where I stapled the placemat to the frame, but I just stapled it. That's just it. And then I put a ribbon on for hanging cord, and I'll give you a better look at that during the final reveal. Don't forget to subscribe and give me a big thumbs up. See you soon.